Do I have a thumbs up from the IT person? We're good to go. Thank you for catching the door. Committee, first on our agenda today is a request for bill introductions. Anybody on the committee have any bill introductions? How about anyone from the audience? See none, that was easy. Committee, apologize for my voice. My sinuses have been kicking my tail this morning. We have a briefing today from the Turnpike. We'll have a briefing tomorrow from KDOT. And then next week we'll start hearing our bill. I think I got it scheduled for Tuesday. With that, we'll turn our attention to the Turnpike presentation. Recognize Steve Hewitt. Welcome back to the committee, Steve.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman, committee members. We always love the opportunity to talk about the Kansas Turnpike. Okay, so I'm Steve Hewitt, Chief Executive Officer for the Kansas Turnpike. I've been CEO for about 8 years now, and so I'm very proud of what we do and what we have going on, and so we're going to kind of walk you through a few of those things today. So first, I'd like to walk you kind of through our mission and vision statement. So the next slide here. And as you can see, our mission, obviously, to operate a safe, reliable, customer-valued system, being fiscally responsible, and to make sure to do it in a business-like manner. And why that's important is because we receive no tax dollars. We live and die by the tolls or revenues we bring in, so we have to be smart in a business-like manner, but also make sure we offer a safe, reliable road, because you have a choice, and you're going to pay a premium to be on our roadway, so we want to make sure we offer a great product for you, and that's important to us. Next slide. Our vision is obviously we are committed to advancing transportation in Kansas through leadership, innovation, and partnerships. And that's important because we took a hard look at ourselves and understood that we can do more. We need to make sure we're helping our communities, helping the state, things like the freight corridor, innovation, technology. We had listened to our customers, and we feel that's very important. It's a very clear vision we have as we move forward. Next slide. So a few facts here with the Kansas Turnpike. 236 miles, it's 1,000 lane miles. We go all the way from Kansas City down to the Oklahoma border. 350 bridges. We have 6 service areas, 23 different toll plazas right now. We have 9 maintenance facilities along the Turnpike. Fun history, opened in 1956. We just wrapped up our 65th year of operations. Built in 22 months back in the 50s, which you would not be able to do that today, that's for sure. Prior to the interstate system, the chamber, Kansas Chamber, felt it was very important not to be left out and wanted to connect our 3 largest cities, Wichita, Topeka, Kansas City. Built this with not putting any burden on the taxpayers, so built it with the bonds to create the Kansas Turnpike. And still today we operate that way from a standpoint we don't take any dollars, we're not a burden to the state, we're good news. We want to bring good news. We want to be a success story for Kansas without being any type of liability at all. So we're not asking for anything, we don't need anything, but we want to tell you what we're doing and how we're operating. Last year alone, we had over 36 million trips on the Kansas Turnpike, so we obviously are a corridor for a lot of travelers. One key thing is to understand is that 50% of our traffic comes from out of state. And that's important, as I'll show you in our budgeting, is that revenue, a lot of that revenue, 50% of it comes from non-Kansans, and I think that's important for operating. Next slide. So we did a study back in 2019, an economic impact study, to understand what really was the impact that Kansas Turnpike was providing to the state of Kansas. From that study, it showed that we create nearly 1,400 jobs annually from the projects we produce as well as the people we hire. We put over $236 million back into the Kansas economy. Obviously, that rolls over 1 or 2 times. 12% of the Kansas economy is running right through the Kansas Turnpike. We understand it's a freight corridor. People try to travel, need to get places. We are important to that. And I think that's important because, again, that out-of-state traffic is helping drive the Kansas economy right there along our corridor. Next slide. So we have a long-term needs study we passed in 2015, which is really a capital needs study to look at projects to make improvements. It's a 10-year study we were going to spend over $500 million on improvements to the Kansas Turnpike. To date, we're getting close to the end of this 10 years. We've done over 50 large projects, spending over $400 million to date. And we've all done that with cash, reserves. We've not taken on any new additional debt. And we still have some of the lowest tolls in the country. So we're dedicated to low tolls, a high-quality system, affordable system, and understand that we got to be fiscally smart. So we don't want to take on too much debt. We want to have fiscally strong. In fact, Moody's has us ranked the highest bond rating you can receive for a toll road, and we take that with honor because we want to make sure we're doing things fiscally smart. But we've also identified a lot of projects and been doing a lot of improvements, and I'll walk you through a few of those. Next slide. So a couple years ago, we dove into a safety assessment to look to identify new methods that what can we go above and beyond we're not doing yet to really make sure we're as safe as we can be. Investing in that assessment by a third party to really take a look at everything. We're currently in the third phase of that assessment and going through that and trying to understand, have we done everything we can? And we're trying to do what we can because we are dedicated to make sure the safety, as we talk in our mission and vision, safety is the #1 thing we do. We take it very seriously. Few of those projects, but obviously projects cost money. As I just mentioned, to fiscally responsible and what we accomplish. As part of that, just on this slide here, you can kind of see that dip there in 2020. Obviously, that's COVID. We've been recovering from COVID since then. We've made a nice rebound recently, and I will tell you the rebound is really based on commercial traffic. Commercial traffic has stayed steady throughout the pandemic and recovery. We've had some dips with fuel. When fuel prices jump up, people make choices, and when the confidence of the economy may be shaken a little bit because of fuel, people slow their travel. But commerce from the commercial side has stayed positive, which has really helped our revenue. So we've made sure we've stayed positive on that. One of the things, part of COVID and some of the things we went through, we kept our promises. We didn't lay anybody off. We kept our projects moving. We weathered the storm. That fiscal responsible, strong backbone we have fiscally allowed us to keep our people employed, kept projects moving, and we're very proud of that. People always ask us about, how our compatibility other states is going. We obviously were connected with Oklahoma and Texas. We've been working diligently throughout the country trying to add on more states. It's not just us, but it's other states that have to work. We hope this year, and we expect even in the next few months, we'll bring Florida in, and then hopefully more southeastern hub states in that area. We also hope very soon to bring Colorado on board, working to bring them in our hub as well. But we also have agreements to pre-pass, best pass, national pass, bank pass. These are all national carriers that, from commercial carriers can go get a pass, and they can go throughout the country and use that at different agencies. Again, it's a technology thing, and it's an infrastructure thing, and so, we're ready to work with all states, but states are not always ready to work with us, but we'll continue to try and make that work. And I listen, we know that travelers, when they call us and talk to us, customers, they say, hey, I want to have my K-tag work everywhere. And we do too, as well as, other folks from other states want to come to Kansas and want that technology to work. So we eventually will have that. It may take a few more years. It's a bit of a daunting task to get all the country on board, but we will continue to make that effort, and we're excited about the couple new states we're going to bring on here very soon. So part of the investments we just talked about is our long-term needs study and our capital improvements. We put a lot of money into bridges. Talk about that freight corridor. We were designated as a freight corridor, and understanding commercial carriers love the Kansas Turnpike, keeping you moving, get a quicker, faster, more efficiently. We've spent quite a bit so far. 67 bridges we have raised over the last few years. And we identified 100 bridges that were under the 15.9 threshold. We brought 67 at this point up. We'll continue to bring up the rest of those up to get 100 bridges. We spent $30 million so far just on those 67 bridges, and we are committed to making sure that, and that's a safety issue. That's good for commercial carriers. It's good for the Kansas economy to keep things moving. Those trucks that can be on our system, say off the KDOT and county system, less wear and tear. We'll take that. It's good for our revenue. It's good for our system, and we can help the state and help our commercial carriers. So we're dedicated to that. Drainage has been a question over the years. People say, oh, there's water on the roadway. Well, we've invested a lot as well the last few years, over $25 million on a flood risk mitigation study. We identified and prioritized areas on the turnpike that water was getting on. We didn't have to do anything, but we wanted to do things. We wanted to make it better. We wanted to go farther than we were required to do, and we've done that. And we've done 16 locations have been identified, and as you can see, we've had a number of those since 2016. We've improved, and we'll continue to improve those more areas that we've identified. We are dedicated to making sure that, again, safety. I can't say it enough. Safety is important to us, and we're investing in safety every day. I've talked about commercial a little bit already, but the investments we put in expanding parking for commercial carriers, which is a very important thing. Wrong way detection is being placed. Parking identification system is being placed and revised. We are dedicated to making sure our commercial carriers have what they need. We think that corridor, they want to use us, and we need to make sure we've got the amenities they need to make sure to get the goods to the store and to your houses, and so we're going to continue to invest in that. Our biggest investment has really recently has been cashless tolling. So in 2024, in the summer of 2024, we will be 100% cashless tolling. And so we've invested a lot over the years. We started with open road tolling, as you know, Eastern Terminal here in Topeka, as well as Southern Terminal from 2017 to 2019. We improved those areas. Customers told us we love that, we like that. K-Tag, we have over 98% of our K-Tag customers love how it works, want to see that expanded. We dove into cashless tolling. We're investing $85 million to go to cashless tolling. It's a good time for us as a system. People across the country and more systems are going to this. Technology is important. Customers like it. You don't have to stop. You don't have the safety issues of stopping at the plazas. We can move people, keep things moving, and it's more efficient. It's also more efficient for us from operation. K-Tag is important. It's from an automation standpoint, so we can keep tolls low. We're dedicated to keep those tolls low, dedicated to keep the customer service rolling, and it's really going to work out. And we're excited that, again, we're about 18 months out. We're really excited that cashless tolling is around the corner. We're getting great feedback, and we cannot wait. So, again, we're dedicated to making sure the experience that you have a choice. We want to make sure it's a premium product, and we're making sure those improvements are coming. We have, as you know, the KDOT, KTA partnership is very important. Created back in 2013, a formalized partnership. We were always working together, but this formalized it. I think it's always important to find ways to be efficient. KDOT has some expertise. We have some expertise. We're working well together. We've worked on a number of projects. We'll continue to work on projects. It's important that I think you understand, as our customers and state citizens, we're doing the best we can and what we can to try to make things efficiently and work better and save money on projects, and we've done that on a number of those, and we'll continue to do that. And the Secretary of Transportation is on our board. Our board's dedicated to that. The Secretary's dedicated to that, and so I think it's a good partnership. Part of that, in 2019, the Transportation Task Force made a recommendation that we expand tolling throughout the state. That legislation was passed. It allowed another tool for KDOT. So it allowed for partial tolling on projects. And I think what's a really nice opportunity for, hey, if there's a funding gap, could tolling fill that funding gap versus waiting for a long time before we get those funds? So we could be a part of that. And so we are obviously the tolling experts in the state. And KDOT obviously has some needs, and so we're excited to announce our first project, US 69. The US 69 Express project. So this is a KDOT project that's utilizing KTA. They're going to take this stretch in Overland Park and add an additional lane on US 69. So 4 to 6 lanes, and this is the busiest 4-lane in the state of Kansas. This, again, their project, but they're utilizing KTA so that we will collect the tolls. This is a managed lane from a standpoint. You're still going to have the traditional lanes that will not cost anybody anything. They'll still go down their pathway at no additional cost. But the third lane will be a tolled lane. It'll be a congestion pricing lane. It's really to control the congestion in the lanes. The price will fluctuate as the traffic goes. we'll work and we'll manage that. We'll collect the money for KDOT. We'll then give that back to KDOT. We'll just cover our costs. KTA is not making any profit off this. We want to keep those tolls as low as possible. But the system itself will manage the pricing based on what the traffic needs. If the traffic's light and congested in the two free lanes, you could call them, then we can lower that price to get people over. If it's too congested in this lane, we can up the price to move them over. And this all automated, so it'll do it naturally. So unique. It's not unique to the world of tolling, but unique to Kansas. It's something different. We're excited to be a part of that, and that happens, and really it works because of our effort to go modernize and go cashless tolling. The systems that we are putting in place will work well with this, and we're excited to be a partner. Scheduled to open in late 25 or early 26. KDOT will walk you through the construction. They are handling that. We are managing the tolling piece, but we are excited to be a part of it. And again, the legislation that was passed through the task force made this happen. And so, and this goes through a process where the community requests it, goes to KDOT. KDOT then comes to, in a feasibility study, comes and talks to us as the KTA board. The board has to sign off on it, then goes back to the Finance Council here at the Legislature to sign off on it. And we're excited to be a part of that here in the near future. We always like to point out that the Highway Patrol, we have a special troop dedicated, Troop G, to the Kansas Turnpike. And why I point this out, really, number one, we have a dedicated troop, so we want to make sure safety is important to us. But we pay for 100% of this. Their cars, their uniforms, their salaries, their benefits, their bullets. We pay for everything. Anything they need, we pay for. Again, we are self-sustaining. No tax dollars spent on the Kansas Turnpike. We don't accept any tax dollars. We're independent. 47 troopers are dedicated to the Kansas Turnpike right now. And again, we believe that's a really good service that we provide to make sure our folks are safe. Community partnerships, I like to point this out because we are always open to working with communities. And so when they approach us, we're always open to look at that. So it's usually the government entity comes to us and says, hey, we'd like a new interchange here. And then we say, okay, let's go into a feasibility study. Let's take a look at it and see what the numbers look like. And we generate some more traffic to see how we can pay for this. We're currently in two studies right now with the City of Topeka, City of Auburn, and we look at where the cost share will break down based on the feasibility. And sometimes it will pay for itself. Sometimes it doesn't, and so there's a gap there, and so then the community and ourselves work together on those projects. But we're committed to making sure we're working with communities, and it's important. Recently, you probably heard this, but I'm going to address it because I think it's important. As I mentioned, we don't accept any tax dollars, state or federal tax, and we reached out because right now the federal government is saying there's all this infrastructure money, so communities reach out to us, and there's some money to help you do projects. Well, so we know that some of our communities are looking at that and as a potential funding gap to fill this, right? So we approached the feds and said, hey, Federal Highway, and you said, hey, if federal dollars, we don't accept federal dollars, what's the impact to us? And they said, oh, there's a tremendous impact. So you'd have to be federalized, you'd lose your service areas, you'd have to be under a new umbrella, and so we don't accept federal dollars. And so we have never accepted federal dollars, and so unfortunately we don't accept that. However, though, we are still dedicated to working with those communities to find ways to make projects work, to find ways to make things safer, more convenient, and have better partnership. And so we'll continue that. But again, we take everything very seriously, and we're dedicated to making sure that the Kansas and those communities along the Turnpike are vibrant, and we can hopefully help them, and we'll continue that effort. And in summary, I'll just again point out, obviously safety is our number one item we focus on. We want to be fiscally responsible. Again, we don't come and ask for any money. We're not going to ask for any money. We're self-sustaining. 50% of our traffic, which is really nice, comes from out of state. We don't take those dollars from you guys, and we want to make sure that we're fiscally strong. We are fiscally strong, and we're dedicated to improving and modernizing the Turnpike and continuing that effort in the future. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today, and I'll stand for questions when the time is right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much for being here. I just want to say, I represent part of Overland Park, and I think that you are really addressing in a really professional, first-class way a real need for our community with what you're doing with 69 Express. So we're excited for it. That has been a challenge for our community for as long as I can remember, and I think this will go a long way in addressing that. So I just really wanted to thank you for what I think is a really positive partnership between the city, KDOT, and KTA. So again, thank you for your work on that. I'm excited for it to open, and again, I think it'll make a real difference for a lot of folks in our community. So thank you.
Thank you, and thank you so much for being here today. And you and I have talked about the Auburn exit, so I don't need to ask any questions about that. So thank you for that. I have a tolling question. What happens when somebody doesn't understand? They don't have a K tag and they don't understand which lane they go through. How do you get them the information that you've gone through the wrong lane, you don't have a K tag, you owe us money? And how do you determine that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's really all technology. So we have cameras in those lanes that take picture of the license plate, which will be a part of the future as well. But we reach out to them and we tell, hey, you should have gotten a ticket if you don't have a K tag. And so since you don't have a ticket and you didn't see the signs, right at this point, it's a violation. So potentially it could be, just a $20 violation. But we do offer forgiveness. If sometimes if I made a mistake, I didn't mean to be here, we offer first-time forgiveness. We try to work with customers. We're not trying to be harsh. We want them to understand and learn as we try to educate them towards the future of cashless tolling. The future of cashless tolling will look a little different, though. You wouldn't be a violation, and I'll just walk you through that real quick. We'll get in more details as we get closer, but we take a picture of that license plate, then you'll get a bill in the mail, or you can go online, or you can get we're going to improve a new app that'll come out. So there'll be multiple options. So it won't be the violation piece. It'll be a toll. Hey, but there'll be levels of the tolls. Hey, here's the cheapest level, which is K-tag. Here's the level. Obviously, we send you a bill in the mail, or you can go online and pay. But right now, it's a violation, and we educate in the lane. Now, sometimes folks get on, didn't realize, and they still stop at a collector. I didn't get a ticket, or I don't know what to do. And our collectors will help them as well. Like there's an opportunity you can get on in Wichita without a ticket. It's our first cashless location, 53A, our connection to Kellogg on the east side. And people then stop potentially here at Topeka and go, I didn't get a ticket when I was on Wichita, what do I do? We say, not a problem. We do a remake, and we'll just make that right there in the booth for them. So multiple ways of trying to work with customers. Sometimes customers don't always read signs, don't understand, get a little confused. And our customer service team is really good at trying to help them, give them that early forgiveness and try to, okay, here's the toll this time, but understand in the future it would be a violation if you did it again.
The senior citizens have a little bit of an issue sometimes with not
Yes.
knowing, the sign's there, they're just not understanding it.
Yes, we understand that, some folks just get confused, and we want to try to work with people.
May I ask a follow-up on the 69 Expressway question? Yeah. So I drive that quite a bit myself. I have a lot of family in Kansas City. So when you were talking about you'll adjust the cost of the tolling based on the usage of the lanes, how would I know if I'm driving that, today it's only, $1, but tomorrow it might be $4?
That's another excellent question. So there'll be signage that will show the price, the current price. So what you see when you get in that lane, that will be the price you will pay. There'll be two different segments, and so let's say it's 30 cents right now. That's what you would know you're going to pay 30 cents. So, or if it's $1, it will be very clearly posted on a digital sign. It will adjust as the price adjusts, and you'll see that.
Thank you. I'm excited about that lane too.
We have Senator Warren online, and we have Senator Tyson and Senator Reddy. So Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the presentation today. I'm honored to represent the Senate district in Overland Park that includes this first in the state toll lane on US 69 highway. So thank you for the partnership between KTA and KDOT and others, and for the legislature bringing this opportunity to Overland Park, and our residents and travelers through there. I think will find this helpful, and it's important to know that it's not required that you drive in the toll lane. It's still the toll-free lanes are still available and the tolling is an option. I think it's important to let folks know that it's a very congested area of our state, and I think that this lane will be very much helpful. Where will the posting, to follow up on, so thank you for doing this, to follow up on Senator Dietrich's question, will the price of today it'll be posted electronically before you decide to enter the lane, so you can make a choice at that time, and will the toll be applied to your KTA account, much like we have K-tag?
That's an excellent question. So you will see it very clearly posted, and then you can make the choice if you want to get in the lane or not. So it's 30 cents, it's 50 cents, then decide, hey, I want to go ahead and I'm going a little quicker over there. I'm going to move over there and go quicker. It'll be a premium, but yes, or you can stay in the free lanes. It won't cost you anything. Yes, we will be compatible. That's why we are working with KDOT on this project. Your K-tag will work. And if it will work just like our cashless tolling, as I just mentioned. If you do not have a K-tag, we will then send you a bill in the mail, or you'll have an opportunity to go online or to use the app to pay. But it can be completely compatible. In fact, it will actually feel like a KTA roadway. It may be owned by the state of Kansas and KDOT, but KTA will be managing the toll portion of it. So you work with my customer service, your K-tag will work, you'll get a bill from KTA, you have a question, you call KTA, we'll work it out. So you don't have to be confused of like, who do I call, KDOT if I got an issue, or KTA? If you call KTA, we're gonna manage it and work with you and figure it out.
Well, thank you for explaining that, and I'm excited to see this come to fruition. I think it's good that it's optional, and it sounds like it's user-friendly. So thank you for helping the state in this area of our state, and thank you again, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually have a couple of questions. One of them, a comment too. When you're designing and developing these, you say that it's easy to see, the signs are easy to access. That is not necessarily true, especially that exit down in Wichita. For a user that is new to that area, or I've had family and friends comment how they don't know when the toll's supposed to be paid, not paid. It is not user-friendly. And I would suggest that you have individuals test these areas, and I would suggest this for all of KDOT when they put up signs for construction and everything, not to assume that somebody has the technology in their car, that they have maps or that they have, because they're relying on those signs, trying to find directions, and it is absolutely can be confusing for those individual users, not just senior citizens, but others too. So I'd make that suggestion when you're testing these systems. I know everybody's excited about the toll road. I will take an opposite position on it. What exactly is the area for 69? I know individuals that go back and forth on that road several times a day. I do know it's an option, but if they're losing a lane of traffic to payers, then that just made it that much more convoluted for the non-payers.
Yeah, and let's see here. I don't know if I'm 167 to 435. So again, you'll still have the remaining 2 lanes that you have today will still be in place, and the additional lane will be placed in. So add a 3rd lane. So you'll have the choice, obviously, to how you want to approach that. The algorithm that's placed in the tolling system is to help maintain speed in the lanes so that we keep the traffic flowing. That's what it's based on. So obviously, we have to get into it and evaluate it, but it evaluates the speed in the lanes to decide how much we need to charge to help alleviate the traffic. So to spread it out, either it's congested in the 2 free lanes or congested in the toll lane. That's what the system is to help. So in essence, obviously it's new to Kansas, but it has been utilized in many other toll roads throughout the country. So we feel very confident it will help the congestion in that area.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I just hope those signs are very accurate. I know Okay, I'll move on to my next question. You said that you do not have any burden on the state. Do the Turnpike Authority and the employees, the Highway Patrol for them, do they participate in the CAPERS program?
Yes, we do participate in CAPERS, and we pay CAPERS as school districts, counties do, as everybody else. But yes, we do participate in CAPERS, correct.
Okay, so that would be a
That
burden.
would be the one connection, I think, yeah. Obviously, we are connected to the state with CAPERS.
I just want to make that clear.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good
there
point.
is that. Also, I would ask too, you brought up an excellent point. I have this with school districts. I always ask, and I get deer in the headlights with the superintendents that I ask, what is the cost of the federal money that you're taking? You've obviously done some research to the cost-benefit analysis on the federal money and chose not to accept. I appreciate that, and I was looking for you maybe for some guidance to help educate some of our others that are taking federal money, because there is a cost associated with it.
I don't know if I have any guidance for school districts or counties. My previous background was city administrator, so I do understand what cities would go through, and sometimes you take what you can get, and if you can't get anything. As for us, I mean, we outweigh the bureaucracy, the reports, what we lose, what we gain, and what we lose is more than what we gain, so it just doesn't make sense for us. But again, we don't want to deter other communities into potentially working with us, but we understand we just simply can't do that. And then that would then turn around and put a burden on the state as well, because in fact, the state of Kansas receives toll credits, which is basically funding that because we're a interstate, KDOT receives money for the fact that we're not taking money from the feds. So you'd lose that money, because we would need that money then to offset the reporting and the bureaucracy that goes through the federal. But I don't know if I have any, guidance for how their potential, public agencies go, but we just know that KTA, it doesn't work for us.
Well, and if I may, Mr. Chairman, the industry that I'm in, we do a return on investment analysis, and I think that actually has to be done on throughout the state, and I appreciate that you guys have taken that effort. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Another thing that might help you, Senator, is when we passed that legislation in 2019 allowing the tolling outside the turnpike, we said that no existing lanes could be tolled. So if it's an existing highway lane, it's going to still be free. So you won't be losing a lane, you'll be gaining a lane. And sometimes that congestion pricing could be zero. Could be utilizing it for free if there's not a lot of traffic, but that's rarely the case on 69.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That brings up a good point. So the minimum could be zero. What could the maximum be? Do we know?
Well, there's really not a maximum set, but KDOT will, if they want to add a maximum, they can let us know. But at this point, I mean, it's whatever moves the traffic, but I know that they are dedicated to low tolls as well. So they'll work with us. Again, devil's in the details from a lot of that. Again, we still have till end of 25 or early 26 before we wrap that up. But I know that more reports and more information will be coming back to you from KDOT as well as KTA on exactly how that looks as we get closer.
Thank you, Chairman. I have three questions, actually. A couple of them refer back to your graphs. There was a dip in April 2020 in the graph that had, I believe, four lines. And I wasn't sure why that was. I know you mentioned the COVID and pandemic, but it seemed like a very steep.
Yeah, that's a great point. So when COVID hit in April, late March, early April, 65% of the traffic on the Kansas Turnpike stopped. People just were not traveling. The only thing we saw on the roadway was pretty much commercial traffic trying to get goods and services to homes or business locations. So that's why that. And then the other dip you see, if you're curious about the other one, that was the fuel prices we saw in July. When fuel jumped up to that $5 range, that's a direct impact. We see fuel jump up. There's a threshold when people say, hey, I'm not going to travel as much. And so that's the other one.
Okay. And the other one was, let me see here. I believe in your bridges data, in 2021, seems like only 124,000 was spent, whereas in previous years it was in the millions. Again,
That's all timing based on contracts. So as we're in the contract, so just when the contractor's doing stuff and bills that are sent, that's just currently when this particular graph was put together. we just hadn't had all bills are paid. We currently are out working on bridges right now, raising them. So
it's
we've got
way
our
more than that.
contractor, we've got contracts that have been let. They're continuing working on those bridges right now.
All right, it was quite noticeable. And I know when we get K-tags and stuff, you're collecting lots of data. So that's going to only increase as we go to the cashless tolling. So what do you do with all that data? Because one of the reasons I ask is, as a city official in Manhattan, as we look at how many electric cars are coming in or what type of massive trucks, as we look at how we rethink our infrastructure, is that data accessible to anybody, or how do you use that data that you collect? I assume you have to fill out a whole sheet before you get your tags.
So listen, we're always willing to share data from the type of vehicles, the different vehicles that, out of state, in state, what states, yes. Personal information from those particular cars, we don't share. We keep that with those travelers because we don't want to share their data. We understand that's really an important hot topic, that we keep that data and we don't want to share that. But actual data from standpoint, which we are excited about, Cash 20, you bring up a great point. Trying to understand who's traveling, when are they traveling, why are they traveling. Now that we go to cashless tolling, reading those license plates, reading those cars, we can try to understand that, which I think is good for businesses, economic development. It could be good for the state of Kansas, KDOT, for us, for projects, for expansion, communities. That's going to be good information. The particular private information of who that particular person is, we won't share that. We'll protect that identity for those folks as we should.
Yeah, understandably so. I was mainly thinking, as we look at more electric cars and even the massive trucks that are going, redoing our bridges or roads or whatever it might be, is that data accessible to anybody, another governing entity, omitting the personal information?
We absolutely, we get open records requests all the time on data and information. We are more than willing to share that. And we work with KDOT closely. We're willing to work with other communities as needed for information. Sure, we absolutely want to be a good partner.
Excellent, thank you.
Senator Tyson,
Thank you. May I follow up with another question?
you may.
Thank you. I know that there's been an issue with duplicate tags, like the wrong person getting the wrong. Would it help to have the county on the tag? The odds of having the same number in the same county are much slimmer. So would that help your situation?
That's a great question. That's a great thought. Anything that can define that tag as a separate from another tag, because a duplicate tags is an issue for us. So ABC 123, antique versus this versus that, and we can't always exactly understand it. In other states, it's even worse. And we've got a pretty good understanding for our system, but other states, they get bills from Colorado and it goes to somebody. I wasn't in Colorado with that antique tag. Well, that was the first one that came up to them. So yes, anything that can define, either separate that or add a county would be very helpful for us to define and make sure we're getting the bill to the right individual, because that can be frustrating if you get a bill in the mail. It's not, I wasn't driving then, so we have to go through that whole, understanding of, okay, that wasn't you, so who wasn't? So it could have been 3 or 4 other people. So yeah, it's important. And we try to just so you know our system, we try to look at the make, the model, the tag, what it is, so we don't have that problem. Not to say we've never had it, we have. I know that other states have had that problem quite a bit, because we are trying to work with those customers that have not been in Colorado or not been in another state and received a bill in the mail, and so we're working through them to try to help that out. But anything that can define that a little bit better is going to be helpful.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Cluse.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you just talk a little bit about the penalty, or like if somebody moves, they don't get the bill, or just for whatever reason, maybe they use a P.O. box, I don't know.
Yeah, so obviously we work with the Department of Revenue, for Kansas, and so we can send the bill out, and we pretty good success rate with Kansans. They do a good job of paying, and if not, we do have a collection method as anybody would, go through collections to try to get them to pay. Out of state, we're working on more and more states, partnerships with state revenue offices to try to get information so we can send bills to them as well. So, and again, when we don't receive, if they fail to pay, there is late fees and then goes into the collection. And so we do have collections. I mean, some folks that don't pay, and so we send them off to collection agencies. And hopefully eventually we do get them to pay. But we try to find different ways to motivate them. But we're pretty successful, at least with Kansans. They do a pretty good job.
Just a short follow-up, but it wouldn't be connected to like losing your license or anything like that?
The only thing we don't, no, not losing your license. The state of Kansas, there was a bill passed that allows us to hold registration if they have over $100 in tolls built up and they failed to pay. We could work with the treasurers and hold their registration until they paid that, until they couldn't get their tag renewed. We have not implemented any of that. We made a promise to the county treasurers that we would look at every other avenue before we did that. But that is a tool in our toolbox. If a Kansan would rack up, many, many tolls and fail to pay, and they didn't want to do collections, we were unable, we could put a hold on the registration. They'd have to pay that before they could get their tag renewed. That is a tool in the toolbox. We just haven't utilized it yet.
Good, thank you.
Steve, thank you. You might want to share, I see you have your director of IT here, that we don't even keep the data of the credit cards. We always get a token.
Correct. So we do everything in as much as we can to protect. And Bruce Meisch, the director of IT, Alan Streit, our legal counsel in-house, we take privacy really important. We understand that's important to Kansans and all customers. And so we put a lot of things in place to protect that information. And we don't see that data. We don't see those numbers. We do what we can to make sure that your data and all customers' data is private and stays protected. And so many firewalls and many protections in place. And we have a great team in-house that does that. So I appreciate what they do and our team does. And I appreciate what you guys do. Thank you for allowing me to speak a little bit today.
Thank you, committee. Any further questions? Seeing none, we're adjourned. Actually,